And then we've covered the problem when you think that you just try harder and do it again and over, that something good is going to come from all that. And it just absolutely, you've already proven, you've done the research that it isn't going to get better. So here we accept responsibility, not to try harder, but to find the resources we need to change things. From New Life Ministries, this is Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn. I'm Stephen Arterburn. And Going Deeper is all about taking the tough issues, the hard issues of life, looking a little bit deeper inside so that we can gain some insight into our lives. Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me with Going Deeper, because we're going to go deeper today. We've been going deeper into this thing we call spiritual renewal, or a newer word, transformation, when we literally follow a path that transforms our life. We were one way, we become something else. Everybody, I think, could improve a little bit, but there are others that would just like to have a totally different way of existing and relating to other people. Well, that's what this is all about. It is about a growth plan toward transformation. Now, you've probably heard me quote Jeremiah 6:16, where it says, "Stop at the crossroads and look around. Search for the old godly path and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls." I think that what we're dealing with here, 7 keys to spiritual renewal, I think it's the old godly path. That's what I think. And I think that if you'll take and work these keys and do the things that are required, I think you're going to have a different life. The first thing that we have to do is to see that we cannot fix ourselves, that we in and of ourselves have an extreme limitation. And so we need God to help us. We realize that and we surrender to God. Our solutions didn't work. Let's try God. So we surrender. And then after we surrender, we open up about it. And we, well, the second thing is we see it. We see the reality of our life. And then the third thing is we open up about it. So we surrender it, we take a look at it, we see it, and then we say it. We confess. Fourth step, fourth key, it's what we're going to cover today. Search and surrender is number 1. Then we see it, say it, and number 4 is own it. We take responsibility. Or you could say, it can be kind of confusing because when we see things, we call that acceptance. But this one is, that's kind of the acceptance of our reality there, seeing the reality. But over here, we're accepting responsibility. Did you cause your problem? Maybe, maybe not. But it's your problem to deal with. If somebody traumatizes you, abuses you, it's horrific. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to deal with it. Here's the verse. Each one of you should test your own actions, and each one should carry his own load. Galatians 6:5. Now, you know what codependency forces a person to do. Carry your own load, and then carry about 4 other people's load. Or carry your load, you're so busy carrying somebody else's. And this says we've got to carry our own load. Other people will blame somebody else for all their problems. Rather than accept responsibility, somebody will say, I'm just going to wait for God to step in and create a miracle. Or the learned helpless people say, well, I'm waiting for somebody to come and rescue me. Nobody wants to help me. And then we've covered the problem when you think that you just try harder and do it again and over, that something good is going to come from all that. And it just absolutely, you've already proven, you've done the research that it isn't going to get better. So here we accept responsibility, not to try harder, but to find the resources we need to change things. One thing we have to change, if we're playing the victim, if we're living in the hood, victimhood, we got to get out of that. Because what we want to do is whatever's come to us, we want to conquer that. Rather than feeling sorry for ourselves, we want to have a good, healthy therapy where there's empathy, there's compassion from somebody else, and some insight into how to get beyond it. If we don't, if we stay in that victim role, we're just going to hurt ourselves. And we're going to get into bigger trouble because we'll isolate from other people, and eventually nobody will want to be around us. So we have to take responsibility. Now, a lot of people, they don't take responsibility because they're searching for the big why. Well, you know what? I think if you search for the big what to do and you do it because other people have done it and proved it to be true, you're going to discover why along the way. But if you're waiting to discover why before you get started, you may never ever stop. Psalm 139 says this, 23 verse. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. So here, we're going to accept some responsibility for the things that we see, like anxious thoughts. Now, a lot of people, they think that God should protect us from anything that would make us anxious, or that God should protect us from anything that is painful. Well, fact is, He says, I'll wipe away your tears, but He won't prevent our tears, and we're not living in the garden anymore. If we lived in the garden, then we wouldn't be having the tears. But out here in this fallen world, we're going to have some tears, and God's going to be there for us. Now, if we have some really negative feelings, anger, shame, bitterness, resentment, we must accept the responsibility to deal with those things. Grief, anger, fear, things like that. Because the problems can be the opportunity for growth when we accept responsibility to deal with them. They can be the opportunity for character, and for some of us who develop some very uncaring patterns, it can be a process of learning to be compassionate. Now, we need to make some really good choices. And one of those choices is the choice to be with safe people. So we want to be in a safe church. And there's some churches that are not safe. I wrote a book called Toxic Faith. It's all about really sick churches. And they shame people. They make people feel inferior to those that are leading the church. It's anything but what I think Jesus would want to happen in that church. And we've got to find some really safe people to be around. So often when I ask people who call into New Life, okay, so tell me about your friends, tell me about your support, there is none. So what do? Go hire some people to be your support? No, go join a support group or a recovery group, a life recovery group. You call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, say, I need a life recovery group. We'll try to help you find one. And if there's not one near you, we might help you, give you a couple of hints on how to start one. And so we need to do some things that'll make our life better. If I accept responsibility for a better life, a transformed life, I literally must not believe everything that I think. And I must have positive influence on the very thinking that I have. So things I read, look at, I need them to be positive and healthy. Take a little break here. Take a drink. Now, when I start to take care of myself, I look in the mirror and I say, okay, this is what I've got to deal with. How can I deal with it in a positive way? How can I deal with it and make the best of what I've got? So if I'm a little overweight and I'm wearing skin tight yellow, probably not the best way to deal with it. So we want to not focus on the outside, but we want our outside to reflect that we're doing something different on the inside. And we need everything we can going for us to make that happen. So, maybe a new haircut is what I need. I told people, if you want to transform your life, get a new haircut. Or change the color. Go back to gray or whatever it is. But these kinds of things can motivate us, make us feel different and better. People comment on it. And accepting responsibility is accepting responsibility for this temple that I have. And sometimes we need to remodel the temple, or we need to reduce the size of it. All of that is accepting responsibility. So rather than blame somebody else, rather than procrastinate and not do anything, when I come to this key, I am saying it's time. I see what's there. I've opened up to another person about it. And now I've got to get to work because I want to be a different human being. There is nothing that we can do for the better if we don't get to work. And the life we want can't start until we let go of the life that we've had. And nobody's going to do that for you. One of the most powerful, wonderful things about life and the way God has made us is that you get to decide how your story is going to end. You get to decide what's going to be the next chapter in that story. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about a major, huge step toward that story having one amazing ending. So we search and surrender to God. We see the reality of our life. We say it out loud. And then we own it and accept responsibility. If you need some help, you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and I'll see you right here tomorrow, same time. Thank you for joining me for Going Deeper. I hope something I've said may have helped just a little bit. If you have a question you'd like me to answer or comment, just email me at stevesocial@newlife.com. I'll see you next time.
If you want to support Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn, be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. And if you know someone who would benefit from this episode, be sure to share it with them. See you on the next Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries.